Good evening to you.
Hi there.
Now then, starting with a look at more reaction to what's been happening in Israel, the election.
Yes, certainly turbulent times and pretty confusing too for a lot of people, even including the Times of Israel, who ran this story today with the headline, "Bye Bye Bibi, Hello Unity," and a symbol to show someone looking terribly confused. This article actually begins with the line, "The only thing we can know is that we know nothing." Now, he's being slightly modest there. He does know a little bit more than nothing, and it is well worth a read of this article. But a lot of people wondering exactly what all this is going to mean. This Twitter user saying, "In short, we can sum up the elections in Israel in one sentence. Netanyahu lost, but the centre-left didn't win." The other thing that we're seeing an awful lot of, repetition of the phrase, the end of the Netanyahu era. Now, some people are putting a question mark in there. Others are more emphatic. This opinion piece in the New York Times is fairly emphatic, saying that basically the political dynamics that kept Benjamin Netanyahu in power for a decade have shifted under his feet. However, he does qualify that the fog of battle is still thick, which I think is a poetic way of saying we still don't quite know what's actually happening. The Middle East Eye is pretty emphatic too on this, saying whatever comes next, the Netanyahu era is, as we know it, is over. So basically, even if he finds a way to be at the head of a unity government, perhaps, he still won't wield the same power, and really it's the beginning of the end, if not the very end. Haaretz has been reporting on this too, unsurprisingly, the liberal-leaning publication from Israel, and they say maybe, just maybe, the age of Netanyahu has come to an end. A slightly more qualified message from them. There's a particularly British take from the British publication Jewish News, which went with this on their front page, "Be Brexit?" and question mark. So they're wondering what's going to happen. Benjamin Netanyahu has been very confident, really, that he is still going to be at the head of his party and the head of any government that is formed. What's interesting to note, though, is that Israel Hayom, which is a publication very much in his corner, is reporting that Avigdor Lieberman, who's seen as the kingmaker or possibly kingbreaker in this situation, the far-right figure who could choose basically who's going to get into power, is actually working to get Netanyahu replaced. But what's even more interesting in this article is they say that Likud officials from Benjamin Netanyahu's own party actually met after those exit polls came out to discuss ways in which they could potentially get rid of Netanyahu as their leader. Now, the party does seem to have very much moved to back him now, but it's interesting that those discussions were had.
Indeed. So we wait and see what emerges from the deadlock in Israel. Now, it is September, which means, of course, all around the world, back to school time. One campaign group in the US has issued a rather unsettling advert on this subject. Tell us more.
Yes, it is extremely unsettling, so I will warn you now that you might not want to watch this particular part of the video, but it is important. The message is important. Sandy Hook Promise is a campaign group that was set up in the wake of that 2012 shooting in which 20 children aged 6 and 7 were killed, 6 staff adults as well at that elementary school in Connecticut. They released a new public service announcement message today, which was screened in the US, called the Back to School Essentials. It is extremely tough to watch. Take a look.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Very distressing, Emma, very distressing.
Extremely distressing. It's a very, very strong message. It's got lots and lots of reaction online, unsurprisingly. Even politicians speaking out, or maybe unsurprisingly, politicians speaking out. Beto O'Rourke, one of the Democrat hopefuls to become the next presidential nominee, says when kids go back to school, they have plenty to worry about. They shouldn't also have to wonder if they're going to make it home. We need to buy back all of these assault weapons. Chris Murphy, who's a governor, says if you feel a gut punch watching this new PSA from Sandy Hook, and I promise that you will, today is the day to ask yourself what you are going to do to help stop school shootings. It's worth mentioning that this campaign is all about the fact that they believe you can spot the signs of a school shooter if you know what they are. It's not a campaign about actually wresting guns from people's hands. This is about ensuring that these things don't keep happening. This person's a little bit negative about it, saying that they feel it's heavy-handed. It's a good point they're making, but goddamn, my heart hurts. And I think a lot of people do share that view. But this reply to her is very interesting. Be a teacher or a sub, go to a few of the mandatory meetings on active shooters, do an actual live shooter drill. This commercial was tame. And this response too, this made me cry because Sandy Hook is the reason I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. So really, really strong reactions. But plenty of people too using this moment to actually repeat their desire to keep the Second Amendment, that right to bear arms. This person tweeting, would you be happier if they were mown down by cars and the image, come and take it under an automatic rifle?
What is going on in that person's head?
You do have to wonder, but a lot of people are very defensive of their right to bear arms, and a lot of people choosing this moment to speak out. Now, it's interesting that as well today, a fashion label in the US is making headlines because they chose to make a range of school shooting themed sweatshirts, hoodie sweatshirts. Unsurprisingly, getting a lot of criticism for it. There's the one with Sandy Hook written on it. As if it weren't repugnant enough, you will notice there are actually bullet holes in that shirt. I'm not sure about the gentleman on the left-hand side of that photograph, whether he's pretty disgusted by what he's seeing. The label, which I'm not going to name because I'm not going to give them that publicity, has tried to defend their actions, saying it's meant to be ironic, the fact that you go to somewhere that's supposed to be safe. They're drawing attention to these kind of problems. But yes, it is a lot of people calling for this label to be shut down, urging people not to buy their clothes anymore.
One defends freedom of expression, of course, but this just appears to be completely sick, doesn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. Emma, sobering stuff indeed. Thank you very much indeed for our Media Watch. Emma James, thank you.